doing? Okay. Now I know. I've had to use the PowerPoint because I'm going to show you a little video. You guys like videos? Okay. So this is the second part of chapter 16, and we're going to be looking at sexual selection today. And so here are the main questions, and what we're going to talk about, what are the components, or what is sexual selection? We're going to be looking at various models that lead to sexual selection, and one of them is called the major models of female choice, and what evidence is there to support them. The other model that can lead to traits is what's called male-male competition. So how does male-male competition affect sexual selection? And the last thing we'll look at are these weird post-copulatory sexual selection operates in these weird fish that do these weird things. So these are some of the most bizarre things you'll ever see. And I'm going to show you a video of one of them. So what we're really talking about here is exaggerated, often colorful traits that are used during the mating season. They're usually male traits. And if you look at these, here's a beetle. Guess which one's the male? The one on the right, with those sorts of things that may be used probably in competition with other males, okay, for access to females. Here's a crab, and guess which one's the male? The one with the big claw. Here's, which one's the male? This one, there's the female. And here's a northern sea lion. There's the female, there's the male. So there you have color, mostly huge size differences. So what we're really interested in, how did these sort of often exaggerated male traits evolve? Because one of the perplexing things is these things you would think are fairly costly, right? Not only in terms of producing them, but how obvious they are and all these sorts of things. So what we're going to talk about is why do these traits sort of evolve? So I'm not sure this is going to work, but I'm going to show you a bird of paradise. You ever seen these things? Sorry, the sound's not real good. You think that's a male or a female? So these are in Papua New Guinea. These males, look at them. Okay? I don't know what happened to the sound. There's the coloration on the bottom. Who's that? There's the female, brown, drab. She quickly becomes disinterested. Look at that. There you go. So these males live in these courtship areas where there are multiple males in trees, and they're called a lek. So it's a congregation of males. Now she's probably looking at another male in a nearby tree. And there he goes. He's backing away. And there's a huge proliferation of these birds of paradise in the islands, north of Australia and Papua New Guinea. I mean, these are remarkable. Okay, so Cornell University, that's the place. You can watch all sorts of videos of birds of paradise. And so, anyway. Oh, there you go. There's another one. Okay. So that's what we're trying to really explain. Nope, wrong one. Close out. So how have these evolved, these rather bizarre behaviors? Because what you think is, not only you're colorful, you're making all those, elaborate dances and things like that, and you might be exposing yourself to something, right? They're costly to produce. You're exposing yourself obviously potentially to predation. So what do you think leads to that? Yep. So the idea here is all of these elaborate traits, mating things are done during courtship. So there must be something about these are used, and females choose particular kinds of males. And what we're going to talk about is competition among males may lead to larger size exaggeration, but also females may prefer to mate with particular kinds of phenotypes, especially these exaggerated phenotypes, and that's what we'll be talking about. And you can imagine during Darwin's day, female choice wasn't given much credence and wasn't believed in. They thought only male-male competition was important, but things have changed, so I think. I'll stop, okay? So let's look at, what I first want to look at is there are different kinds of mating systems, right? And again, monogamy is where a single female and a single male pair up, have offspring. A lot of times this involves a lot of often parental care by both the male and female in terms of raising offspring, and we're not going to talk too much about this, but when we look at organisms that have polygynous mating systems, that is where a single male often mates with multiple females, and that's true in the birds of paradise, peacocks, all these other sort of things. Often there's a single male that often has a group of females that he mates with, and these are what we call polygynous mating systems. These are where you find the degree of exaggerated male traits to be the highest. Okay? Polyandrous is an unusual one where a female has multiple male mates. This is relatively rare. It occurs in certain seahorses. It occurs in certain kinds of fishes, but it's a much rarer mating system, and I'm not even going to talk about this one, okay? That's an extremely rare mating system. So one of the things we're just going to look at right now is what happens in polygynous mating systems. And this is you don't have to worry about it, and your book doesn't talk about it. This is called Bateman's principle. And here's the basic idea. In polygynous organisms, what you have is, here are the number of individuals, here are the total number of offspring being produced. And males are in blue and females are in red. Okay? Again, this is a distribution. What's different about these two distributions? Here's the female. Is there variability among females in terms of the number of offspring they produce? Yeah. Okay. So here you have some probably maybe pre-reproductives or had a bad nest or something, bad reproductive period or something. But in general, there's some variability among the females. And so maybe some of these females are larger, maybe they have better territories. All sorts of things can lead to variability among females. But females in general typically have what's called intermediate reproductive success. In polygynous mating systems, what looks different about this distribution? It kind of goes like this, doesn't it? That's not a normal distribution, is it? This is what's called a leptokurtic distribution. So what do you have a lot of? Yeah, you have a lot of males who don't reproduce at all, have been unsuccessful in getting matings. Okay? And so the idea here is many males have low reproductive success. But then you also, what do you have out here? All of these males, especially this one, a few males have extremely high reproductive success. So what you see, male reproductive success is more limited. This is the idea of Bateman's principle. If you have a polygynous mating system, what do you think, why are these males getting so many offspring being produced? Well, yeah. Yep. Yep. So the idea here is that's probably going to be coupled to the kind of displays or how colorful they are or how big they are. But the idea here is these males are getting access to more females and mating with more females, right? So these might be a male that had access to 6 females that on average produce, 50 to 60 eggs each, right? A female, on the other hand, when you think about her egg production, right, does it matter how many males she mates with in terms of, so sperm are plentiful, right? Eggs are more limited. So females are really limited by the number of eggs they can produce. So male reproductive sex is more limited by the number of eggs fertilized, and thus there's often tends to be strong competition among males. The idea here is pretty simple because eggs are expensive, right, compared to sperm and gestation. All these other things are expensive. The idea here, the idea that came out of this model is females should be the choosier. And again, I'm not condoning any sorts of male behaviors or anything like that, right? That, you know, all I'm saying, this is what we find in polygynous mating systems. I don't apply this at all to human societies and things like that, so this is not an excuse for behavior. And I'm looking at the guys, right? Okay, just kidding. Okay, but anyway, I always have to say that because this is from a perspective of, in highly developed polygynous mating systems in the wild. Okay, and this is how this has been applied. Okay, so the idea here, that kind of set the stage for why, and the idea here is pretty simple. These males, if they were more colorful, bigger, more dominant, more exaggerated, maybe they can, get access to more females, or females prefer to mate with them. Okay? So we're first going to talk about what's called female choice, and there are lots of different models, and I'll try to just go for 4 or 5 more minutes and find a good stopping point, and then I'll finish off this lecture, post it on Moodle and YouTube, and try to watch that before Thursday's lecture if you can, and we'll have a couple quizzes. We'll have a couple iClicker questions on that lecture. Okay. So what we call intersexual selection is what we call female choice, and the reason we call it intersexual selection is females choosing males, right? So it's between the sexes. So this is what we call intersexual selection or female choice. There can be some real clear benefits for a female choosing a male of a particular size. And there can be what are called direct benefits. And I'll show you an example of that. And a lot of things we're going to talk about later are sort of indirect benefits and take a little more complicated to understand. There are direct benefits to females showing a preference for particular male phenotypes. And I don't even remember what this is. It's an invertebrate. I can't remember what it is. Anyway. So anyway, males have a particular organ here that they use to latch on to females during the mating process. And this is the male body size that they're kind of using as an index. And this is the probability the female is taken by a predator as a function of the kind of male, the size of the male she mates with. And often it has to do with this thing. And I don't remember exactly how that deters predation, but in general, what you'll see is if the female wanted to avoid being eaten, what kind of male should she prefer to mate with? Yep. So if she mated with this male of about 0.5, her probability of being eaten and killed is 100%. And this is what's called a cubic spline. It's not a regression. But what they're saying is, as the male body size goes up, the female has less likelihood of being eaten. So who should females prefer to mate with? The largest males, okay? So she gets a direct benefit by choosing the male that's larger, and I assume it has something to do with something about he's able to deter predation. I don't remember the exact mechanism how it happens. Yeah, I don't think they grab him instead. I can't remember what the major predator is. Okay, so here that's real simple to understand why female choice would favor showing a preference. And if you gave a female a choice between this kind of male and that kind of a male in a mating arena, and you'll be doing this with cockroaches, right? If you gave them a choice, which should she prefer? Put her in the middle of a mating system, put them on both ends, and where should she go and mate? Biblical, okay? You can do what are called female preference tests, and a lot of people do that. Okay. Let me just talk about this and introduce this, and this will be the last slide. So the other thing we might want to think about, this is more sort of an indirect measure. So do females prefer, again, it's female choice, prefer male phenotypes because they are an indicator of male quality, okay? And what causes higher offspring survival in certain males. So here's a study that was done with peacocks. Which one's the male? Right here, here's the female. They have a lek mating system where their congregations of males, females come, visit temporarily. They have nothing to do with these males after the mating thing, and they take care of all the offspring, okay? So females should be choosy. So here's the mean area of a father's eye spot, and it ranges from 120 to 155. And here's the mean male weight of the offspring from that mating. What's it look like? Those that have bigger males, fathers that have bigger eye spots produce offspring that are bigger. Here is the survival of the released chicks from the matings between fathers of different sized eye spots. What's that look like? Again, it's a positive relationship. Those males with small eye spots, the offspring survivorship is very low, whereas as you get up into this level, it's on average probably around 60%, okay? So what this suggests is who should a female prefer to mate with, okay? The males that have bigger eye spots, and presumably what the model suggests, and I'll record a lecture on all this. The idea is there must be something about these males that she uses these eye spots as an indicator of the genetic quality of males. And we'll talk a little bit about, I'll be going into more stuff about parasites. Parasites explain everything. You'll soon learn. Okay. So we'll do that, and I'll start the video on this. I don't know if I'm going to get it done today, but I'll try to get it done over the weekend or Friday. Okay.